Oh, my little ones, come sit close by the fireplace. Let me tell you a story from way back. One that's etched deep in my heart. It's about a time when I was just a young girl. Not much older than you are now, and life taught me lessons about family, forgiveness, and finding your own way. It's a story about your great-grandma Ellie, my mama, and how she came back into our lives after years apart. It's not all warm and fuzzy, but it's real, and it shaped who we all became. It was the day I was born 16 years before the moment I'm gonna tell you about. My mama Ellie, she wasn't there to hold me or smile at my tiny fingers. Instead, she stood in that hospital room, looking at my daddy Tom and my mama Sarah, and said words that cut like a knife. She told my daddy, "I'm done with you and your wife. My other son's wife Clara, she's got money to take care of me. Your Sarah's just a nobody, scraping by on food stamps with that messy hair." Oh, my dears, I wasn't there to hear it, but I can still feel the sting of those words when Daddy told me years later. He was so angry, his fists clenched tight, and he told her to leave if she was gonna talk that way about his family. Ellie stormed out, her nose in the air, saying we'd regret it, that we'd come crawling back when things fell apart. She went off to live with my Uncle Richie and his wife Clara, spending their money like it was water. Fancy cars, big trips, all the things she thought made her important. Meanwhile, my mama and daddy, they didn't let her words break them. No, they worked harder than ever. Mama started teaching, pouring her heart into kids who needed her. Daddy took extra shifts at the warehouse, coming home with tired eyes but a smile for me. By the time I was 7, they'd saved enough to start an after-school program. Mama tutored math and reading while Daddy taught kids how to fix cars or insulate walls, practical things to help them grow strong. Soon we had 45 kids showing up, laughing and learning under our roof. I'd sit there watching them, feeling so proud of what my parents built from nothing. But Ellie? She was living a different life, one she thought was grand. Clara, though, she'd been in that hospital room when I was born. She heard Ellie call me a disgrace, and it changed something in her. She watched from afar as my parents' program grew, as we moved into a house with a pool, as we took vacations where I had my own hotel room. I was so excited about that room. You know, Clara, though, she was clever. She saw Ellie's heart was tied to money, not family. So one day she played a trick. She told Ellie the market was crashing, that their money was drying up. Bit by bit, Ellie's fancy life shrank. Her king-size bed became a single. Her expensive coffee turned to instant. Clara even moved into a smaller apartment with Richie to make it seem real. Ellie couldn't handle it. She said she needed space and stopped coming to family dinners, dodging Clara's calls, all because she thought the money was gone. Then one day when I was 16, there she was standing on our porch. I'll never forget how she looked, clutching a fake designer purse, her eyes wide as she took in our house, the pool, the 2 cars, my MacBook on the kitchen counter. She said she'd been thinking about family, that she'd been too hasty back then. My mama, bless her kind soul, invited her in for coffee. Ellie sat there, looking at our vacation photos, the awards from our program, the life we'd made without her. She said, "I always knew you'd make something of yourselves." But then came the ask. "I just need a little help, maybe a bed in your guest room for a bit." Oh, my dears, I could see the hurt in Mama's eyes, remembering those hospital room words. Daddy came home right then, and his face went still as stone. He listened to Ellie's tears, her talk of being abandoned, and then he spoke, calm but firm. "You called my baby a disgrace while my wife was still bleeding. You meant every word." Then he dropped the bombshell. "You know Clara's not broke, don't you? Brothers talk, Mama. Clara tested you and you failed." Ellie's face went white as a sheet. Daddy told her Clara could buy her a Bentley if she wanted, but she'd never see a dime from us. "Get out of my house," he said, and when she begged, saying she was his mother, he looked her in the eye. "I can't abandon family, but I can give you what you gave us, nothing." She stood there, shivering, pleading not to be left homeless. Mama and Daddy shared a long look, the kind that says 1,000 words without a sound. Mama's face had that teacher look, kind but firm, like when a kid in our program needed help but had done wrong. Daddy's jaw was tight, but his eyes softened just a bit. They told Ellie to wait in her car while they talked. She screamed about being his mother, but Daddy just pointed to the door. Out she went, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her, sitting in that beat-up car that wasn't anything like the fancy one she used to drive. That night was heavy. Mama paced the kitchen, her hands in her hair, torn between anger and duty. Daddy reminded her how Ellie called her lazy, worthless, right after I was born. I spoke up then, from the stairs where I'd been listening. What if people hear we let Daddy's mama go homeless? What'll that do to our program? Mama stopped, looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. She said she'd been thinking the same thing. Daddy called Uncle Richie, and we heard Clara's voice in the background. She offered to pay for a motel for a few nights, but only through a social worker, no direct contact. Daddy booked a room for 3 nights, no extra charges allowed, and handed Ellie the key through her car window. She drove off without a thank you, muttering something we couldn't hear. But the next morning our neighbor texted Mama. Ellie's car was parked down the street, and she was sleeping inside. She hadn't used the motel room, saving it for when things got really bad. Daddy was furious, pacing, saying it was her old tricks again. Mama said we couldn't force her to use it. That afternoon we met Marissa, a kind social worker who knew elder care. She showed us a rooming house on Maple Street. $800 for a deposit and first month. A simple place with shared bathrooms. Daddy's face went red at the cost, but Mama looked at the photos and nodded. That night they argued louder than I'd ever heard. Daddy saying Ellie made her choices years ago. Mama worrying about our reputation if we let her go homeless. I piped up again, suggesting Uncle Richie might pay half if we asked right. Daddy called him, and Uncle agreed, but only if the money went straight to the rooming house. Clara wanted it in writing. No contact except emergencies, all through Marissa. Ellie didn't know what hit her. But then oh my, she caused a scene at our program's pickup time, telling parents we'd abandoned her. Some families threatened to pull their kids out, and Mama spent hours on the phone, explaining without giving too much away. The local paper called, wanting a statement. I grabbed the phone before Daddy could spill everything, saying we were just setting healthy boundaries. The reporter Colin, he got it. He said his mother-in-law caused trouble too. Marissa set up a meeting and Ellie showed up late, acting like she didn't know the town she'd lived in for 40 years. Daddy called her out, and she just shrugged. Marissa laid out the options, the rooming house or a shelter with no privacy. Ellie went quiet when she saw the shelter photos. Rows of cots, no walls. Clara called in, saying she'd pay for the rooming house, but only if Ellie went to budgeting classes at the senior center. Ellie's face burned red, but she signed the papers, her hands shaking. We moved her in, her things in trash bags and old suitcases. The place smelled like cabbage and bleach, and Ellie complained about everything: the stairs, the tiny bed, the shared bathroom. Daddy reminded her she'd left a king-size bed behind for money. We left her there, unpacking and grumbling, while other residents watched from their doors. Things got messy after that. Ellie stole food from the rooming house kitchen, got caught with someone's yogurt. The manager warned she'd be out if it happened again. Then Officer Hayes brought her to our door one night. She'd been sleeping on a park bench after a false theft accusation. She'd been telling sob stories, trying to get pity money from other residents. Marissa got her back in, but it was her last chance. Mama started dropping off groceries once a week, leaving them at the desk with strict rules. No complaints, no asking for more. Ellie took them without a word. Maybe the first time she didn't argue. Time passed and things settled. Ellie started going to the senior center, playing cards, even helping with chairs. She fell once, broke her wrist, and we visited her in the hospital. Daddy set a 30-minute limit, and I was there to keep things calm. She begged to come home, but the doctor said she'd be fine with therapy. She hated the walker they gave her, said it made her look old. Daddy actually laughed, not mean, just amused. Months later, Marissa got Ellie into a subsidized senior apartment. We all helped her move: Daddy, Uncle Richie, Clara, me. She didn't thank us, but she didn't complain either. She started working part-time at the senior center, serving lunches, learning names, showing up early. Marissa said it was the best turnaround she'd seen in years. She never apologized for what she said when I was born, for choosing money over us. But she stopped showing up unannounced, stopped causing scenes. Our program grew stronger. Parents shared their own stories, helped us with resources. We won a $40,000 grant, opened a new location, and by September we had 75 kids. My senior year, I got into State University with a scholarship. Mama cried, Daddy spun me around the kitchen. And then a card came from Ellie, Just a $5 bill and a note saying she was proud. Daddy said it was probably the first money she'd given anyone in years. Uncle Richie and Clara had a baby, and they set strict rules. No unsupervised visits with Ellie. At my graduation, she sat in the back, quiet, no fuss. She left before our dinner, and Mama said it was the best ending we could have hoped for. Life's messy, my loves. Family can hurt you deep, but sometimes you find a way to help without losing yourself. We set boundaries, kept our hearts open just enough, and built something beautiful now. Who wants some cookies? I made 'em just like Mama used to, with a little extra love.